Welcome to yet another episode of the Power of Pleasure podcast via live stream. I'm really enjoying going live from Substack. Like, this is really fun. Now, today, especially because today I'm gonna try to keep it short because I'm sitting in my car. I do not have my car on. Because I was having some audio issues. So I don't want to turn my car on. So I'm sitting here hot. All right. For those of you who can see me, you can probably tell your girl is hot. And I got on a black shirt. Okay. Um, and if y'all know where, for those of you who can see the video, if y'all know where I can get a really good quality fuzzy steering wheel cover that's gonna last a while, please let me know. I haven't had this one that long. I do not drive that much, and it looks like I done just beat it to death. Like, it's just worn out. I've only had it for a few months. So if you know where I can get a good one that stays like fuzzy and furry for a while, please let your girl know. So I can go ahead and make that happen. But anyway, so today is before I get into that, my name is L'Oreal Moss. I am the Sensual Systems Architect, and I help women create structures to support the soft life that they want to live. Now, um, today is day 6 of my 30-day journaling challenge or journaling journey, right? Like you remember. And we talked about storms, right? The prompt was, and I know this is not verbatim, but it was like, if your life was a storm, where would be your safe space or something like that. Something along those lines. And it got me thinking about how the whole purpose of this challenge and the whole reason I created it is to help people come back to themselves. And one of the ways that we face ourselves every day is by looking in the mirror. And I know that if you are an entrepreneur or you've been in any kind of professional space, you have likely heard one of those phrases like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Your business is a reflection of who you are inside, or XYZ is a reflection of who you are inside, right? And so that led me to today's topic, which is basically your business being a mirror, right? But this is not necessarily, I'm not using it in the sense that most people use those types of phrases, which is to make people feel bad or to like convict them of anything. Cause I'm not here to make you do a damn thing. That's first and foremost. I'm not here to do anything. I'm not here to make you do anything. I'm here to support you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to help. I'm here to help you clear energy, whether that's womb healing, going into the Akashic records, you need a reading, whatever, align your chakras, whatever, right? Creating your personal pleasure plan. I got you. But I'm not here to make you do anything. I'm here to help you shed light on what needs your attention and help you create a plan to give those things attention in ways that are safe and healthy and non-detrimental, in ways that still prioritize your pleasure but still create space for you to get things done. Okay. Still make space for you to handle what you need to handle. And so with that being said, the title of this episode or live stream is How Your Writing Reveals What's Working and What Needs Work. If you have ever journaled about anything, I'm specifically talking about business, but I'm going to open it up a little bit. If you have journaled about your work, your career, your vision, right? Your dream way of making money, right? Your dream way of life, because a lot of people don't have a dream job. And if you do, no shade to you. Some of us do not dream of having a job or having to do what we consider to be labor or whatever the case may be. But wherever you fall along that spectrum, if you have ever journaled about your work, chances are you have seen some things or written down some things that you question or that you're not clear on, some things that don't necessarily sit right with you. But A lot of times we write about the thing, we write the vision, make it plain, right? Write it out, get a plan. We either talk to a business coach or a mentor. A lot of days. A lot of people nowadays are hopping on ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or Copilot or whatever kind of AI slash learning machine that you want to use, and you are plugging that information in and saying, create a plan for me to make $50,000 in a month. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I do want to do this. I do want to do that. Give it to me. And then you get the plan, and then you start working on the plan, and then you're like, I don't like this plan. And that can even happen when you're working with your coaches and mentors, right? They give you a plan. Well, you can do this, you can do that. Let's give this a try for the next 30 days and see how that works. And then you get to day like 3 or 4 and you're like, I don't like this, right? That resistance starts hitting. You start getting signals that you need to check in, right? Sometimes those of us who are high achievers, those of us who are used to having all the answers, those of us that like to save face, and have a hard time admitting when something went wrong or when something was out of alignment, right? When we've fallen into obligation over devotion, which we're going to get to later on in this stream. But for those of us who are used to always succeeding or putting pressure on ourselves to constantly be successful, seen as successful, do things that we believe makes us successful. Um it can lead to us ignoring things, shoving things down, putting things to the side, putting things on the back burner with the promise that we usually break that we'll come back to it later, right? But if your business were a person, what would she say? Or what would it say right now? What would it say? And you don't have to write there right now. You don't have to write there right now. But something I want you to keep in mind. Usually the things we ignore, whether that's in your business, your personal life, whether it's your health, whether it's, your family, your friendships, whatever. Usually the things that we ignore the most, the things that have nagged at us for the longest that we continue to ignore over and over and over, those are the things that need our attention the most. Like those are the issues that are creating blocks, that are creating stagnation, that are knocking us off our square, right? It's the energy, usually, it's the energy attached to the thing that's causing the hesitation, that's causing the resistance, that's causing the confusion. I like to call it chaos, calamity, and confusion, the 3 C's, right? But when you allow yourself to write about what you see and continue writing about it. When you're working on that plan and something doesn't feel good, write about it. This doesn't feel good because blah, blah, blah. I guarantee you, at least, I want to say a good 7 to 8 times out of 10, you'll see that the reason you don't feel good about something isn't necessarily because of the plan itself. It's about the belief or the mindset that you have towards the plan or towards the person that you're becoming because you're venturing into uncharted territory as it relates to your personal goals and your personal desires. That's usually where that comes from. Okay? Um, but the more you write, you will reveal patterns about a lot of things. And I'm going to keep saying this. I've been saying this for like the last 6 days. This is day 6 of me saying this. I'm going to continue saying this. You will see the patterns and you will be able to track your progress. And you will also be able to see when you're aligned versus when you're not aligned. You'll be able to see when you're being honest versus when you're lying. You'll be able to see when you are acting in integrity versus when you're not in integrity. You'll be able to see when you'll be able to see when you are crystal clear and when things are a little foggy. And not only that, you will know what you need to do in order to get yourself on track, whether that's getting someone else to support you in a different way, or whether that's just tweaking just a little bit, tweaking just a little bit. Because maybe in the plan that you created, you didn't block off any time for self care. Maybe in that plan you created, you didn't block out any time for talking to your therapist. Maybe in that plan you created, you didn't put any kind of downtime in there so you could have time to rest. Because even when you're doing a sprint, you can still have downtime. I know people love doing like sales sprints and stuff, and they can be so much fun. But you absolutely can put downtime in that sprint. Your sprint does not have to be a straight 30 days just because the person that created it says it needs to be a straight 30 days, or because everyone else that's participating is doing it for a straight 30 days nonstop. Which, I get is kind of ironic because I'm doing 30 days of live streams nonstop, basically. But here's the thing, if there comes a point in this 30-day period where I need to take a break or I am not able to live stream for whatever reason, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. It's not, it doesn't mean that I didn't want it bad enough. It doesn't mean that I didn't care enough. It doesn't mean any of that. And I don't know where this is coming from. I guess spirit is just leading me to say that because it needs to be said. And I know that that's something that comes up. I've heard that a lot. I've told that to myself. I've heard it from other people. I've heard other people be told that. Oh, you just didn't want it enough. Oh, you weren't tired enough. Oh, you're just not fed up enough. Like, why is it that we have to get to those points before we do the things we need to do anyway? But that's a story for another day. And I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But the point that I'm making is that when we are writing down things for our business, when we are writing down the plan, when we are following the plan, if we continue to write about our experience and write about how we feel, we'll be able to see the gaps and fill them. Okay. Now, I already gave you all the takeaway for today. Because like I said, I want to keep this simple. I want to keep this simple, keep this short. If your business was a person, what would that person say to you? What would that person say? Um, I know for me, the last time I checked in with my business told me that I was bullshitting. And she still tells me that from time to time. Like I'm getting closer to where I need to be. I'm just not all in with it yet for, personal reasons. And she's going to have to deal with that. But we're making progress. But she told me that I was hiding. She told me that I was bullshitting around. She told me that I was holding myself back for absolutely no reason. She let me know that my fear was valid, but there was no reason for me to allow that fear to stop me from doing what I need to do. Hi, Doug. Hi, Carl. Thank you so much for joining. I'm actually about to wrap up, but I will be posting the replay later on this evening. So thank y'all for joining. I'm just talking about how your writing reveals what works and what needs work when it comes to journaling about your business, but really any aspect of your life, really. Um, but yeah, my business, the energy of my business got on my ass. Recently, I was in a container with Famira. She has a Substack on here. I think it's called like the Brilliance Code or something like that. She has a Substack and I'm in one of her containers and she's been on the podcast and we've been mixing and mingling for some years now. And I told her right before I started this 30-day live stream challenge, I said, I'm not ready to get back on camera. And she said, why? I said, I don't know. Right? I said, I just don't feel ready. That was resistance showing up for me. That was resistance. That was mental resistance. Okay, I'm back and I'm gonna wrap this up. My phone got hot, so I had to cut my I had to cut my car on. My phone was like, stop playing with me. We're not doing that. You've been out here too long. I said I was gonna be out here like 10 minutes. It's been 20 something. So I'm gonna wrap it up. But what I was saying was, I was talking to Samira. I'm in one of her containers. We've been like business buddies for a while. Um, and I told her that I wasn't ready to be back on video. And she was like, why? And I was like, I don't know. In the back of my mind, I knew though that it was resistance. And I have no doubts that if I had written down how I was feeling about getting back on camera, I would have been able to see that a whole lot quicker than me having to be asked a series of questions, right? Because she started asking me questions and, just pouring into me like she always does. And, that helped me to realize it was just mental resistance showing up because I felt like because I have been having breakouts, right? My pimples have been making appearances regularly. Um, because I didn't look a certain way, right? I show up talking about pleasure and sensuality, but I don't look the aesthetic, right? I have my moments. Like I love a good kimono. I love a good, um wet and wavy wig, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not always dressed that way, but that doesn't mean that I can't carry the energy. And I know this, but I allowed myself to believe that I had to show up a certain way and look a certain way in order for people to believe what I was saying, and in order for people to want to know more about the work that I do, in order for people to take me seriously. But that's just not the case. I know that I know that I know based on all of the studying that I've been doing about my divine design, whether that's through Gene Keys, human design, numerology, astrology, whatever. I know that people respond. They respond to my voice. They respond to seeing me. They respond to being in my energy. I know that. And so me actively choosing to not show up, to not use my voice, to not get back on camera, that was me actively choosing not to go all in on my dream. That was me choosing to not fully honor and support myself, right? And so that's just an example of what can be revealed when you write things out. Had I taken the time to journal through all of that, I wouldn't have had to expose myself for one. Like put myself on Front Street in a group of people, right? And not that they would judge me because, that's not the space that we cultivate in that container, but I wouldn't have had to expose myself to other people. I could have just put it on those pages, kept it to myself, and did what I needed to do because I'm perfectly capable of holding myself accountable for certain things. And that is something that I'm able to hold myself accountable for. So, with that being said, I want to leave you with a couple of things. Once again, the the um the prompt that I want to leave you with. If your business was a person, what would it say right now? Okay? I also want to remind you all to, and I'm holding my phone because I know if I put it back inside that holder, it's gonna heat back up. But I also want to remind you all when you're writing, write without editing. If you are channeling or journaling a business plan, let it flow and you can go back and edit later if you need to. But just write to get it out. Write without editing. Also, you cannot repair what you choose to ignore. You cannot take action on anything that you have not acknowledged and brought to the surface. Okay. I also want to remind you all that the doors to Write Like You Remember are open. We are on day 6. We have our first check-in on Sunday, which is going to be day 8 of the challenge. So we're going to have our first check in on Sunday. I'm going to pop in with insights and just see what the people need. Um, and then tomorrow's live stream, I will be able to live stream early in the day because, I'm off work and whatnot. So tomorrow's topic is about rest, right? The working title is The Sabbath of the Self, first of all. if I can talk properly. I think I kind of have a list a little bit, but I don't know. But tomorrow's working title is Sabbath of the Self: How Rest Teaches Us About Receiving. I don't know if that's going to be the title. It's kind of lengthy. We'll see. But thank you all for joining. Thank you all for listening. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to drop a comment, reach out to me via DM. You can even send me an email. If you want to join, right like you remember, the link is somewhere around this post. If you can't find it, hit me up and I got you. If any part of this hit, please tag a friend, share it with a friend, tag me, whatever. Like, help me get the word out there. I appreciate the love and support. I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. And if you're picking up what I'm putting down, join me tomorrow and feel free to subscribe to my Substack. Bye.